This is the Peace, Power, and Purpose podcast, where we spread awareness for men's mental health and spread the gospel of Jesus Christ. Be sure to like and subscribe on YouTube and Spotify. New episodes drop weekly. This is the Peace, Power, and Purpose podcast, and I'm your host, Steve. Tonight, I am joined by Phil Calcese. He is a 160th Special Operations Aviator, the Night Stalkers, my second on this show, and I'm pumped for that. But he's here to share more than just his time in the military and the job he did in Special Operations. He's here to speak about his book, Erased but Not Forgotten, and also share his testimony so we can help other men out there that have gone through a divorce, that have gone through not seeing their kids, and just give them courage, give them hope, and just be there for them. Hey, while you're watching, go ahead and click the bell. Be sure to like and subscribe to the Peace, Power, and Purpose podcast. Phil, thank you for joining me tonight, man. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure, sir.
Night Stalkers don't quit, man. Welcome to the show. Love
That's
it, man.
right.
I love it. I love another Blackhawk guy. You're the second one, man. I love it. I love it.
Yes, sir. I saw Nick on here. Nick's my man. He's an awesome guy.
Good dude, man. And real quick, before you get started, I got to share this because it's hilarious. Y'all are scaring the hell out of the residents in Franklin, Tennessee. And I love it because you guys have been flying a lot in the last week. I've seen Little Birds, Chinooks, Daps, Mike Class. They're everywhere, bro. And I love it. I love every minute of it. So thanks for making my week, but you're scaring the hell out of Franklin.
My pleasure.
Yeah. And it's good to have another Tennessean on here, man. I think you're maybe the first, no, second. I had Ethan on from Campbell. So you're the, we've only had a couple guys from Tennessee. It's cool to have you, man. I appreciate your time tonight.
Super pumped to be able to do this today with you.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Well, let's kind of start from the beginning. Let's unpack kind of your story for our listeners. And can you kind of tell us where you grew up and what did your childhood look like?
Yeah. So from Chicago area, had some family in Chicago proper, and then I grew up in some of the suburbs just outside of Chicago. Started off with a normal life from what I understood. And then things got rocky about the age, I believe, 7-ish. I've kind of forgotten or taken all those things out of my life, but around the age of 7, 8, my mom and dad split. And it's wild because the same thing that happened to my father is happening to me right now. And generational trauma, it goes over and over and over again. And I've seen that. But I grew up in Chicago. They split. I kind of rebelled, and my mom, she did her best. We always had a roof over our head, and there was food, sloppy joes, and whatever else could come on the table. And when my mom and dad split, she went with another guy, and he's a great man, but he was very, very young at the time. I'm about 10 years older than me, and he was in no position to be a father. He did his best, but he was a kid himself, trying to raise me, and I have a sister who's just 16 months younger than me, and he tried, and he did his best he could. But as my adolescent went on, I started to not really like what was going on in the home. I felt better outside of the home, so I stayed away as much as possible. Went to school. I played football, basketball, track. So I was always at I'd go to school beforehand, lift weights, and just be in school all day. Then you got practice, and I'd get home 7, 8 o'clock and go to bed, and that was it. So I tried to stay out of the house as much as possible, or I stayed with friends. And I've always been a people pleaser because I always felt like I had to do something to be received in that home. So if I came to your house as you were one of my buddy's dads, I was asking if I could take the trash out. I was doing the dishes. I was anything just to feel like I was pouring into them so that I felt welcome and that I earned my spot in that home. And that has been a systemic problem for me throughout my whole life because I'm a people pleaser. And I will give you everything I have, and I'm a man. I'll figure it out, right? So I'll give you my last dollar, and I'll give you all my food because I'll go pick up a gun and I'll go hunt and I'll get my own food. And that has always been a thing that right now is hamstringing me because I've literally given everything to everybody, and now I'm sitting here trying to figure things out. But I went on through high school. I was not the greatest kid in the world. I did some partying while I was trying to go to school. School was more of a social event for me. I was always told I was super smart if I would have applied myself, but I didn't know any of this stuff mattered. And guys, if you're younger and you're listening to this, school matters, right? It's dumb. It doesn't make sense why you're adding all this stuff together, reading these books. But like when you get older, you need some of these things, and you don't realize it until you do. Um, but school was school, and football was football. I found myself uh, finding women in all sorts of ways. That was my thing. I would find women, and I wasn't the best guy in the world because I would, tell them whatever they wanted to hear, and it went on, and then I'd move to the next one, and it was just I was wrecking people's lives, and I knew that. Now I didn't know that back then. I just thought I was trying to find love in all the wrong places. Um, but one day, it was my senior year of high school. It's football season, and I was walking through the halls in my jersey. It was a game day, and I had the Army recruiter sitting there, and he said, "Hey, son, come talk to me." And I laughed. I didn't know anything about college, first of all, so I had no plans on going to college because I thought college was going to be like high school. I had no idea. I thought you went to school, you did full day of school, and then that was it. And I was like, that does not sound fun to me at all. Come to find out, after I'm older now, you could go to college and go to class twice a week, and then so that was a whole new world for me. But the Army recruiter sat me down and was like, "Hey, you ever think about joining the Army?" And I was like, "Nope." And he was like, "What position you play?" And I was like, "I'm a linebacker." And he was like, "All right, cool. I got the job for you, son." And I had no idea what he's talking about. He pulled out his little laptop, and it was the recruitment video for a 14 Romeo, which was a Bradley linebacker crew member. Bradley linebacker is where they got me.
Mhm.
They showed me the video, and it was this Bradley. It was jumping through white sands. It was shooting the 25 Mike while I was running, and it was shooting missiles at airplanes. And I was like, this is pretty cool. And then what got me was they inlaid a vignette of Junior Seau sacking a
Oh
quarterback.
man.
And I was like, done, you got me. I
Wow.
didn't know anything about the military. I I had a grandfather that was in the Air Force. He retired. He was super, but he never really talked about it, or I wasn't old enough to really ask him questions at that point in my life. So I didn't know anything about it because at that point I just didn't ask. And I didn't know about bonuses. I didn't know about duty stations. I didn't know what an MOS was. I didn't even know when I went to take the test, the ASFAB, a recruiter just was like, "Hey, just don't worry about it. You just got to pass this test." So I may have been high when I went in there, and I passed the test. Probably got the lowest score in the Army history, but that's fine. We won't talk about that. I made it. I dug myself out of that hole. And he was like, "Boom, you got it, 14 Romeo." And I was like, "Cool. No bonus, no nothing." I was like,
Mm.
"Yeah, I'm going." I graduated high school with a solid 2.7 GPA, which I thought was good, right in the middle of the road.
Yeah.
And I left for basic 30 days later.
What year
Um,
was this?
2001. So
Okay.
yeah,
Oh, wow. Okay. Okay.
I left June 27th is when I started basic training.
Wow. Okay.
Completed basic training, and then ended up I was in AIT at Fort Bliss, Oklahoma. Or Fort Sill, Oklahoma was basic training. And then I went to AIT at Fort Bliss in El Paso. And we were out on a run one day, and we came back. We're in the day room, and the guys were watching the news. And I walked in, and towers were being knocked over. And I was like, "Holy!" I didn't know it was real. I was like, "This is cool. What are we watching?" And everybody was just stone cold faced, and I was just like, "Oh boy!" And we had a drill sergeant come in, and he, back then, if you had a combat patch, you were a unicorn. Like people just didn't, they weren't. And he had a combat patch, and he got all teary eyed and was like, "Hey guys, this is serious. Y'all are about to go to war." And at that point in my life, I had no idea what that was, so it didn't really affect me. I guess I was just like, "Yeah, cool. This is what we're gonna do. We're gonna go to war. This is what we're training to do." No idea. 19 deployments later in 10 and a half years, war sucks.
Damn, man.
It's great. You feel fulfilled when you're doing your job and you're protecting your country, but it's a journey, man. To go through that, and the first couple of them, I wasn't married, so it was great. I just went and did my job. And back then, there was no internet over there. There was no cell phone, so you were literally in a time suck, and like the world just kept going behind when you were when you were away, and you show up and things are different. People are dressing different. Like it's wild. But yeah, I did that. I've done a couple deployments to Iraq, Afghanistan, and then you name the country I've probably been to. Um, and so I did four big Army deployments for a total of 4.5 years. And then I assessed for went to flight school in 2006. And that was not something I had two field grade Article 15s. I had a GOMAR, General Letter of Reprimand. I was doing all the things when I joined. They told me, "Hey, three field grade Article 15s would get you to Sergeant Major," and that's not the truth anymore. So anybody listening, don't take that advice. But back then, like most first sergeant sergeant majors, they've been in trouble. They knew what the deal was. But nowadays, it's not like that. But I checked all the blocks to become a sergeant major. I got all my trouble out of the way. And when I went to flight school or applied for flight school, my brother, Dana, is not my biological brother, but his family has adopted me. It's a Delois Jones and Dana are both in Alabama now. He was a Black Hawk pilot. She was a Army vet for 20 years. She was a nurse, and then she worked at the VA for 20 years. And they opened their arms with wide open, and took me in. While down there in about 2006 is when they just took me in because I don't talk to my biological mom, or at that time my biological dad, at all, because I was told as a kid my biological dad was a dirtbag. He didn't want anything to do with me. He actually lived like right down the street, like 3-4 miles down the street. And uh and it's sad. I'll come back around to it, but like the dude used to hide down the street and watch me and my sister play on a bike because
Man,
he wasn't allowed to see us. He wasn't granted access to see us. So yeah, that. We'll talk about
that's
that here in a
heartbreaking.
minute.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
heartbreaking, man.
that is one of the driving forces of what brought me to write the book and all this stuff. But
Yeah.
we go there. I go to flight school. Flight school sucks. It's like a college, and I wasn't ready for that. I finished it. I ended up finishing, pretty high up in the class. I got to pick my duty station in my helicopter. I selected Blackhawks. It was cool. I partied my whole way through the Army, though. My first duty station was Fort Hood. Then I went to Germany for 4 years, and I could tell you every nightclub in Germany that you could go to within a 150-mile radius of Wiesbaden Army Airfield. Um, but I'd love to go back now and just go and do the adult thing, go see the
Yeah.
castles, go see all the beautiful stuff over there, enjoy it instead of partying 6 days a week and recovering the last day and then getting ready to do it all again the next
Mhm.
week. Germany was fun. But that's where I ended up putting in my flight packet.
Okay.
Got picked up, went to Fort Rucker, and Fort Rucker. Anybody who's been there knows it's a fire hose. And you're literally learning to fly something that's not supposed to fly. Aerodynamics is a theory, so I had my own theory when it came to it. But helicopters aren't supposed to fly. They literally beat the air into submission, and they fly. And went through flight school though, and flight school was great. I was on my own again. Me and Dana, we actually got to go to flight school together,
Nice.
and we lived together. Our mom lived 70 miles up the road in Montgomery, so every weekend I got to go up there. I got loved on, and just it was the best thing that could have ever happened to me at that point in my life, because I was not going in the right direction. Uh, I was uh, I was great during the hours of 9 to 5 when I was in uniform. But as soon as that uniform came off, I was wild, man. I was
Mhm.
doing, you name it, I was doing it. Um, and during all that time, it was it was all about me. I didn't care about anybody else. It was all about how can I be cool? How can I fit in? What can I do? Right. And that just wasn't, it wasn't serving to who I wanted to be in life. So I tried to get deep and figure out what's going on in life. And at that time, I got to go to my first duty station after flight school was Honduras. And I had no idea Honduras was even a country. I didn't know where it was on the map because when I got my orders, it said APOAE and I was like, I'm deploying again, like straight out of flight school. What is going on? But I went to Honduras. Honduras was a blast. I ended up meeting my ex-wife there. It was great. Her dad, who's still my best friend today, one of them. I still like if anything happens in my life, he's probably one of the first guys that I call. And he's just an amazing, amazing man. And he has given me so much guidance and wisdom, and he's literally just been a rock for me through all this. But I met her, and we when you meet somebody while you're call it deployed, it's not deployed, but when you're in a secure location and you're not don't have to deal with the daily ins and outs, you don't really get to see the whole picture, right? It's like it's a fairyland, right? Everything's good, there's no issues, there's no outside pressures. I got to go fly helicopters, and I got to come hang out and go to the Lizard Lounge and hang out at the bar. So it was fun. But we dated for a little bit, and then we left there. She got out of the Navy, and we ended up getting married. We went to Fort Hood, and life was going.
Lem
Um,
Can
yeah,
I
go ahead.
back you up? Can I back you up
Yeah,
real quick?
absolutely.
So, you joined the Army enlisted out of high school,
Yeah, yes, sir.
and then you ended up going to flight school, so I'm assuming you're a warrant officer. Where was, college through this? Like, how did you get to flight school from your initial, enlistment?
What college? You don't have to have college to be a warrant officer.
I thought you had to have, like, 62 credit hours like JUCO.
Nope. You
No?
don't.
Really?
No,
Huh.
sir. Maybe now
Really?
you do. Maybe now you
Huh.
do. But in
Okay.
2006, when
Yeah.
the wars were going on,
Yeah.
if you went like this and you had a pulse and you could pass a background check, they would give you a
Huh.
shot. Yeah.
Wow. No
So
kidding.
yeah. So no
Wow.
college. I've got one college credit, and I'm actually enrolled in South College down there in Nashville, and
Okay, yeah.
I'm gonna
Huh.
be working towards being a physical therapist assistant right now.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Dude,
Um,
that's wild. I didn't know that because I joined the Navy in 2005 and I had no idea you could go to warrant school and not have a college degree in the Army. I had no
a-
idea. That's wild,
Absolutely.
man.
And that was one of the selling points. Like when not selling points, but I walked in, I had to get a ride from Kuwait, or from Iraq down to Kuwait, and I went into one of the aviation talks and was like, "Hey, I need to talk to a pilot. I need a ride home." And this goofball came out, and I started talking to him, and I was like, "So where'd you go to college at?" And he was like, I didn't go to college." And I was like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah, no." So yeah, there was no college requirement for Army aviators. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. No
Yep.
shit. Wow. Okay. All
Yeah.
right. So you're with your ex-wife in
Yeah.
Honduras. You go to Fort Hood.
Yep.
So that was your kind of was that your first unit with Blackhawks, I guess, coming from Honduras to Fort Hood? Was
Yeah.
that who you were
Well,
with?
no, I was flying Hawks in Honduras, and
Okay.
then
Okay.
yep, and then I worked a deal. I ended up assessing for the 160th as a 400-hour nobody.
Wow.
And on the week I was supposed to go assess from Honduras, I got a call from the assessment guy, and he was like, "Hey, we're only assessing high time guys this month, so we're gonna put you on the file, and we'll call you when we're ready." And me being who I am, I was like, "Well, y'all don't want me. I don't want you guys either, right?" So I was like, "Okay, I'll just keep doing my thing. I'm succeeding. I'm well." Sal Herrera was the colonel down there at Sotocano, and he was the one that kind of paved the way for me to go. And he was a little upset when found out I didn't get to go assess, so he hooked me up with the instructor pilot course en route to Fort Hood. I was a 400-hour Blackhawk, barely knew what I was doing for myself. I went to IPC, instructor pilot course, showed up to Fort Hood, and I was expected to train Blackhawk pilots. And I needed to train myself still. But again, you put my back against the wall and I'm going to figure it out. ended up going, we got there 30 days later. I deployed to Afghanistan. And there was this guy named Brian Etsty, who was the IP of the guy I was right seat, left seat riding with when I showed up over there. He actually stayed an extra 30 days to help me out, to make sure I was comfortable, which was it's unheard of for a guy to just volunteer for an extra 30 days to stay downrange, but he did.
Mm-hmm.
And he worked with me. I had never done a desk landing, never,
Wow.
I'd never done a pinnacle on a mountaintop. I've never done any of that stuff. And I was expected to get in the helicopter and train you how to do it.
Wow.
So
Oh shit.
yeah, yeah, it was fun. So we got down there, and it was a fun trip. I ended up flying about 800 hours that rotation. So, and during that time, I on my R&R, most guys go home or they go on vacation. Not me. I decided to go to assess for the 160th. So for my 15 days of R&R, I took 7 of it and put myself through hell, and assessed for the 160th. And at that time, I was told when I got selected that I was going to go to 4th Battalion. And in the assessment board, I was like, yeah, I'll fly rubber dog shit from Hong Kong in a paper airplane. I don't care. So I'll do whatever you want me to do. And I came home and told my ex, I was like, hey, we're going to Lewis. And her family's all from up in the DC, Virginia area. And she just it just didn't sit well. So I ended up having to, write the assessment guy and be like, hey, I'm gonna have to respectfully decline this offer. And luckily, they have this deal where I could come back in 1 year with a just like an admin assessment. So I have PT card, my flight records, and just a quick little interview. I wouldn't have to redo the whole thing. Or
Okay.
3 years, I could still come back, but it would be more of an assessment than not the full deal, but I'd still have to do some of it. So I went back to Fort Hood, and I was there, and I was not happy. So I ended up calling those guys back and being like, hey, I'll come, but I really need to either go to Campbell or Savannah. Like the Lewis thing's not going to work for me.
Mm-hmm.
And when they were like, yeah, sure, you can come back. And when can you leave? And I was like, I guess now. I don't know how this works. Sure, whenever y'all can pull me. So 30 days later, I was on my way to the great place right here at Fort Campbell, and I checked in, and I was the first 60 mic Black Hawk class
Nice.
that went through. So, and it was wild because I was a Alpha Lima guy, so it was all steam gauges. And then I went to a mic model, which was all this technology. So I literally would be like handing your grandfather an iPhone that's never seen one before and be like, hey, figure it out, Pops. It was a rough pipeline, but I figured it out, and I ended up working my way up the chain and doing really well. I ended up being an FMQ pretty quick.
Nice.
And the whole time we were going through there, my ex supported it 100% when we were on our way there. And I told her before we left, I said, hey, this isn't going to be with like all, rainbows and unicorns. Like they're rode hard and put up wet. And she was like, yeah, I support it, whatever, go. And when I showed up, I was on the road. I was on the road probably 250 to 250 days a year, going either two or three regular deployments a year. And then when you're not gone, then you're supporting the guys, out doing the customer supports wherever they're doing customer supports at. And then you rotate in and off on call. And I was in Delta Company, those guys right there. And they're the National Mission Force. So if the president calls and says, hey, I need you to do X, you get your stuff and you go right now, and you can't tell anybody what you're doing. So it's rough on the family.
Yeah.
I went on 7 blowouts. So
Wow.
that's 7 times I had to kiss my old lady and be like, hey, I'm leaving. I don't know when I'm coming back, and I'll see you later. Maybe I'll come back, maybe I won't. I don't know. So that's hard on the family too, because they don't know what you're doing. They know what you're gonna do is dangerous. And being a night stalker, you're gonna do some stuff that pushes the envelope in some very, very austere places and with some very bad people.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that's what filled my cup up. Like I've always I've always served, I've always wanted to help people, and this was just I was doing it, you know, and I loved it, and it gave me an opportunity to step into my purpose and be able to help and lead and see the world, and it was I loved it. Um,
Nice.
but as time went by, deployments, my kids got I had my kids while I heard my son while I was in Green Platoon, and most guys will take time off or whatever, and or wait or be in a bubble and wait to have their kid and then start the program. But my ex was like, no, just go. And we had a plan in place, where if she called ops, or one of her friends who was with her called ops, we were flying direct like a Casevac. We were flying direct to Bach helipad, which is Blanchfield Army Community Hospital. And we were going to land on the helipad. I was going to jump out and I was going to go catch a baby. And
Nice. Nice.
luckily, my son, he was born on the 5th of July, so it was over a 4-day.
Mm.
So I was able to be there for both my children. We had Aiden, and literally that next Tuesday, I think after the 4-day, I was on a TDY trip to Colorado. So I was there for 2 weeks. So right off the bat, I was leaving. And that just stayed steady throughout the whole thing. Same thing with my daughter. My daughter was born 2016, so I was in the company at that point. So I was able to take leave and do all that stuff and be there for her. But right after she was born, literally a week later, I was blown out to Iraq. So again, the system keeps going. And at that time, it was no big deal. I didn't hear any. There was no bitching and moaning. It was just like, daddy's going to get bad guys, and that's what my son was stoked about it. He was pumped because he was just a little guy. He thought it was super cool. But as time went on and the deployments kept going, my kids started to, my daughter was the first one. And she was like, Daddy, why do you always have to leave? And that's where it started to really pull on me a little bit.
Mhm.
That I need to, this is maybe this ain't what I want, right? But it's all I knew. And I didn't know what else to do in the world. So like, if I didn't get medically retired in 22, I'd still be in right now.
Mhm.
But deployment after deployment, things started to get not so great at home. And because of the way I grew up, I promised my kids from the very beginning that I would never, ever leave. I would never leave them. They would always have a dad in their life.
Mhm.
And I've broken that promise now, not by choice, but,
Right.
and that sucks pretty bad. Um,
Before
but
you get into that, Phil, can I ask you a couple questions?
absolutely.
Did your ex resent you as the op tempo increased and you were leaving all the time? Was there kind of resentment building because the job obviously in that community is going to come first?
Yeah, yeah, 100%, because she was starting her career, and she wanted her stuff, and that's just not the with kids and all that stuff, unless you got nannies, which we ended up getting, but, like, unless you've got help, like, it's not the best situation to be in.
Yeah, yeah. And I know now they actually do maternity leave for the
They do.
guys. At
Yeah, they
least
get
the
the same
guys
thing women do.
behind me. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I've
yeah.
got a
They get,
couple
like
I've got a couple really young nephews, 5 and 4, and, I won't say his name, but yeah, he was home for
yep,
both of them. So,
and
yeah, it's a little different.
that's and here's the deal, though, like, they offer this stuff now to these guys, but you if you come off the boat, if you stop rowing the boat, you gotta
Yeah.
pick up my slack, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And, you know, you wanna be able to support your battle buddy, because they may need you and your family needs you, and then you've got this tug of war, like, they
Mhm.
say your family will always be there, and you need to lean on them because they won't ever leave. The army's gonna leave at some point.
Yeah.
Well, that cannot be true too, because the army was still there for me. Right now, I'm a contractor on base, and my family's not here anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it was. the resentment did start coming because I was always gone, and I ended up working my way up the ranks. And I was the ops guy. I ran operations, me and right underneath Justin Carls, who's a great mentor of mine. And I was able to work the schedule where I got to pick my deployments. So I tried to never miss her birthday, the kids' birthdays. I normally would miss Thanksgiving, so I wouldn't miss Christmas. And I was able to do those. And then I was able to, for like the TDY trips, I was able to do the TDY trips at home, like the guys that were coming home. So I didn't go TDY as much as some of the other guys did. And then I would go TDY on other trips, and I was just always gone. There was no real consistency in the home, and
Mhm.
I understand that, and I know that now. And that helped with where we're at now because it was your dad was never around. Your dad, you know, didn't care, blah blah blah, and that's just not the truth. I was providing for my family. Other guys working 9 to 5, behind a computer. My job was to fly helicopters and go get bad guys or go save Americans that were stuck in bad guy places. And that's just what my calling was, and I stepped into it, and I thrived.
Mhm.
Yeah, but
Yeah, and I
that was
don't
that.
man, I'm gonna say this real quick because we live in a world where special operations is highly publicized in movies and books and podcasts. You guys do not get the credit that you deserve. I cannot tell you how many people that I come across that have no idea what the 160th is, what you guys do. And I know they're silent professionals and I understand all that, but you guys don't get the credit you deserve, man. And it's just still shocking to me how many people I meet that don't even know who the 160th is. I
Yeah,
mean, look at the sacrifice you've made. And, I have a lot of respect for you, man. Like, I've told you my father was one of the original guys. So I was born at Fort Rucker. I lived in Germany for a while. So, I mean, a lot of what you were saying is kind of, you know, bringing back some memories for me. So I have a lot of respect for you, man. And I don't know how to change that without revealing too much of the unit, but I mean, I
yeah.
think you guys deserve way more credit than you get. I'll just say that.
And I appreciate that. And I think the best part about what you just said is we're still holding true to what we our ethos, right? It's silent
Hmm.
professionals. We do what we do in the dark, and we're men in the night, and or we come home, and then we're just regular guys.
Yeah.
Other people, they write books and they do all this other stuff. There's a couple guys that have written books about it, but in general, most of the stuff we do, we can't talk about.
Right.
You know,
Right.
so we're doing a good job at if you're saying that right now. We're doing what we're
Yeah,
supposed to
no,
do.
for sure, man, for sure. I mean, the biggest podcaster in the world lives in Franklin, Tennessee, and I don't think he really understands what the 160 is all about. So,
No,
and he's had a
no,
couple of them on his show, but yeah, man, I respect you guys, man. And I want to say this too while we're talking, just to kind of bring some light to this. I know for the unit or the battalion I'm familiar with, they do a really good job with the families as far as morale. They have a family day in the summer. I've been twice, and it's really small, but it's cool to see the kids out there. And for kids, I mean, I have a 7-year-old and my nephews are young. It like my son got to call in uh a fire mission,
yeah,
talking to his uncle. I mean, it was awesome, dude.
that
And
is awesome.
for little kids, I mean, it's just neat to see that, to kind of bring that community together because it's such a small community. But I think they do a good job from what I've seen of like really being there for the families. And when a bird goes down, they're just all together. So the 160 does a great job of kind of coming together and supporting the families. So I just want to throw it out there because I know we're going to get into your story, and I just want people to kind of also know the unit doesn't just say, well, hey, you got to deploy, and the kids don't matter. Because I mean, at the end of the day, I think ultimately the mission is going to come first, but they are doing a decent job of being there for the families at least.
Absolutely. Yeah. They will do we will do everything we can to get a guy home, or to get a guy if he needs to be home, or he needs a break, or his family's needs a break, to be able to give that guy a knee if he wants to take a knee. Some
Hmm.
guys, like, hey, you need to fix your home. We're going to take you off the schedule for, 2 weeks or a month or whatever the case may be. Fix your stuff, and then come back and then get ready to go back again, and ride the boat.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we try to do the best we can, but we're such I mean, now we're getting it's getting bigger and bigger from when your dad started, obviously.
Yeah.
When it was like 400 or 500 guys.
Yeah.
So now it's huge. But the special niche in like Delta Company, back when I was in, we were the only ones that did tier one stuff. All the other battalions didn't do tier one stuff. Well, there's only one company of us, and there's a bunch of tier one units out there that need support, right? So
Hmm.
you get the guys seeing like, Phil, you're back again. And I'm like, there's only one of me. There, that's it.
It's me. I'm here.
Yeah. I'd see him at the beach, and then I'd see him downrange, and then I'd see him 2 weeks later in Phoenix. And they're like, is there, what, are you the only guy? I'm like, "Oh, there's only so many of us, man."
Yeah.
So yeah, but I would never, the Army and all in whole, I'd say to folks, it's the best mistake I ever made, right? Because I did 22 years. I medically retired. They took care of me. I'm back on the compound now, working as a contractor, teaching in the sim, which is the one of the best jobs you could ever have in your life. I love it, and it's a great place. I can walk down the hall with my head held high. Everybody's kind and nice and work welcoming. Everybody's on the same sheet of music, and that's the great
Yeah.
part about that compared to the regular Army
Right.
is everybody wants to be there. Everybody wants to do the deed, and everybody wants to be the best they can be. So everybody carries their weight. There's no,
Hmm.
sandbags out there. So
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Well, you want to get into kind of how you how the idea of the book came to fruition and maybe what started with
yeah,
tread lightly, but how that process started because I know that's a big part of your mission right now, and I want to try to get as much awareness out there as possible for it.
yeah, for sure. In back about two in October of 27 or November of 20, or October 20 or 27, October of 22 years ago, 23, me and my ex, we split. I was told that I had mental issues from my time in the military and that I needed to seek help if I wanted to continue staying in the home. And like I told you before, I promised my kids I would do whatever I could to make it work. So at that point, I'd been in therapy, I've been in pastoral counseling, and I was never able to really go all in with therapy because everything was, Phil, just find your purpose, find your joy. And I was never really able to step into that because I always had either work to do or we started companies and I was working at the companies and I was never able to really just step into my joy. My joy and my purpose was I got a little taste of it. I was working with Aero Recovery and doing some awesome things. I went to Ukraine 2 times with them. I've been to went down to Hurricane Ian. And then there was a tornadoes that came through Clarksville one Christmas, and I got to be the first on scene and helping those people. When you show up to somebody's house that is completely gone, I remember one lady, she was standing out there just crying, and I walked up to her and I said, "Hey, what can I do for you? Can I, can I pray with you? Can we talk? What do you need?" And she was like, "I need to find my shoes." And I was like, "All right, where are your shoes at?" And she's like, "They were in my room." And there was literally rubble. And I was like, okay, where was your room at in this pile of mess? And she pointed to the area, and me and my buddy, we just dug through rubble for about an hour to find her shoes, and that meant the world to her at that point, right? Nothing off my back. I went and looked through some garbage, a broken house for some shoes for this lady. But when she got her shoes, she broke down crying. She felt like I had saved her, and the world was good at that point. But to be able to just go into people's lives and be able to make that much of a change, like in Hurricane Ian, we were we were picking people. We were the first ones there. Um, it was crazy because the hurricane went over us, and then we went straight to work. We were down Fort Myers area, and we just started going, knocking on doors and checking on people. And we found people. One lady was in kidney failure, and we got her out. And I was going to drive her to the emergency room, but because of the hurricane, everything was on lockdown. So I called the ER and I was like, "Hey, if I show up with this lady who's in kidney failure, will y'all open the doors?" And they were like, "No." So we had to sit on this lady,
Wow.
put her in a space blanket and just kept talking to her and making sure she was good, gave her some, make sure did all the proper things. And but to be able to do that, and why not? Everybody's fully able bodied. Everybody should want to help people.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's one of the problems is everybody's so worried about themselves nowadays that there's people out there that need help. And
Yeah.
it doesn't cost you anything to go be kind, to go out there and just be kind, offer help, offer a hug, high five, whatever it is. That could change somebody's whole day, change
Mm-hmm.
their whole trajectory. They could be wanting to go do something that they can't come back from. And by you just sitting and talking to them and sharing or listening and just being quiet, whatever it is that they need at that time, you might have saved somebody's life. So I loved it. I truly did. And but I was never really able to step into that all the way because I had other obligations.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but as we go on, I went to therapy. I went to the if anybody's looking for help right now, there's a place in Cumberland Furnace. It's called Onsite. They do I believe it was a 7-day intensive trauma therapy session, and they call it 200 or like a year's worth of therapy in 7 days.
Wow.
So there's no phones, there's no nothing there. It's just you're in these groups and it's therapy all day. And you get to hear all these other people's stories. And you just realize what's really going on. So I went there and I thought I was gonna go back home afterwards and be like, "Hey, I've got help. Let's work through this." Come to find out, when I left, that's when the paperwork was filed. Um, so I was kind of distraught at that time. Kind of got into a pretty dark place because I broke the promise to my kids. Um, me and my ex, we tried for a while, and it just wasn't. We were going our separate ways. But I would never leave the house because of the kids. I would have, and now I know that that was a mistake. I own that. That's my fault. I know now because in therapy, when I went to that onsite, I hear other adults talking about how their dad stayed and stayed and stayed, or their dad left, and it was better. And I was realizing that me staying, that I was probably causing more drama and trauma in the house at that point
Mm-hmm.
because I was being made out to be the bad guy. Yeah, and it was pretty bad. But when we split, I ended up going off and living on my own. And for the first month or so, we ended up I got the kids every other weekend like I'm supposed to, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was great. I also little ringer in here for you. We started a nonprofit for kids in DCS. And kids in DCS, if you turn your son in right now, you're probably not going to say he's the best kid in the world. We just don't get along. You're going to take your kid there. You're going to tell him he's violent, he's aggressive, he steals, whatever the case. The worst story you can paint for him. And the DCS folks don't talk to the kids, right? So if I was beaten and I was treated like crap my whole life, I rebel, I act out. They tell the DCS guy I'm an animal, and I get labeled a class 3 or 4, a level 3 or 4, which means I will never be able to get placed in a home. Well, if you would talk to me, and I'm just saying me, you can talk to me and find out that my life was horrible and I lived a terrible life. Well, maybe if I got some help, maybe I'm not a bad kid. Maybe I'm just acting out because of all this stuff. So she came up with this. I'm not going to steal any of it, but we ended up getting Zeke. Zeke is that dude is my hero right now. So when me and the ex split, the kids did the things for the first month, and when it finally came to an end, there were some things that happened, and my kids stopped wanting to come. And Zeke, though, Zeke was he was a special kid. He's from Nashville. He did some gang banging, did some dope dealing, some all the things a 17-year-old boy should not be doing. But he was rough around the edges. But because of the way I grew up, I could connect with him, and my ex could not connect with him. So when we did the back and forth thing for a little bit, and then Zeke called me one night and was like, "Hey, I want to come live with you." And I was like, "Buddy, I right now I don't have a job. I'm on my disability and my retirement check, and I don't know how that would look. But I was going to therapy the next day, the day he called. I said, let me go talk to my therapist, talk it out, and see if this is a good idea for everybody." And literally after I got off the phone with him, 30 minutes later, my ex called me and was like, "Hey, come pick him up." And I was like, "Okay." And I called him. I said, "Zeke, what's going on?" And he said, "We got into an argument, and I said I wanted to come stay with you. So she said, call him and have him come pick you up." And so at that point, I got Zeke, and me and Zeke, um, it was a go, right? Because I couldn't work because he went to school and he had not been in school for, I don't know, since he was probably 12 years old. Uh,
Wow.
he went to school, but he was normally in school suspension or expelled or in an alternative school. He was not doing school academia. He was going to be babysat essentially.
Mhm.
Um, so when I got him, he was going into junior year of high school. I wanted him to play football because he was a athletic dude. He was my height, 6 foot, and about 185 pounds. So he was good material. But he just never been in structure before.
Mhm.
He never. So when he got there at school, he wanted to be loud, and he managed to find the bad kids. He was fighting. He was selling vapes in the bathroom, like all sorts of things that you shouldn't be doing. And I would have to go pick him up from school, probably 3, 4 times a week or go sit in school with him in the
Wow.
counselor's office and, talk him off the ledge and be like, "Bro, this is not what you want to do." And I've always came at him as more of not a father figure because I'm not his dad. I'll never be his dad. But I come to him in a way of, I've done all these things that you're doing. I know you're not going to listen to me because I didn't listen to anybody telling me these things, but I'm just going to say it, that what you're doing now has no retirement plan. What you're doing right now has no future. I need you to buckle up and put some effort into this stuff. He didn't hear it at all. We went back and forth. I ended up getting him his high school diploma from the adult high school down here in Clarksville, and we butt heads like it was bad. And then finally he was like, I'm done. I want to go. And I was like, "Hey, you're 18 and you got a diploma now. I promised you I'd get a diploma and you can do what you want to do, man." And so he stayed for a little bit. And as we went through the divorce proceedings started, and I was just like, "Hey," talking to my lawyer and through mediation, I was like, "Hey, I need some help, you know, with this kid. Like, I have no job. I can't get a job right now. You've given me this child that," and I tell him right now, he's the foster kid I never wanted. Um, but he saved me because I could not, I could not quit.
Mhm.
And I had to show up every day for Zeke. And then I got blessed by Second Chance Canine. Travis Hall at Second Chance Canine is a hero. He ended up. I signed up for a service animal like a year beforehand, and I didn't hear anything. Nothing was going on. I'm a Malinois guy. I had 2 Malinois in my old place with my ex, and I love those dogs. And he finally reached out on New Year's Eve of 23 or 24 and was like, "Hey, can you come over just to chat and we'll see if we fit and work." And he blessed me with Hella, she was a 2-year-old Malinois. She was fully trained, good to go. And he also saved me because I was in a townhouse and there's no dog door. So I had to get up. I had to wake up every day. I had to take care of Zeke. I had to take care of the dog. So I never could sit still and just sit in the cesspool that I was trying to sit in.
Mhm.
So I just kept moving. And that's how I've dealt with everything in life is I'm not the kind of guy, if I can't control it, if I can't have any effect on it at that moment, then I can't sit there and worry about it. Like I have
Mhm.
no it does me no good. And people get stuck in that circle of my life sucks. Everything's against me. the whole world's, leaning on me, but that's not the case, right? There's always an outlet. You got to have a good mental mindset, and mindset can carry you so far. If you have I don't care what's going on, I can do better, or I don't care what's going on, I'm gonna finish this. Like, your body will cope. You'll figure it out, and you just keep on moving, and life will get better.
What about faith? Did faith play a role during this process? Did you have like a like a church that you could go to, or did you look at scripture, or what role did God and faith play in all this for you?
So I grew up and was not in the church. I never understood Pop Chris, my father-in-law, my ex-father-in-law, I don't know how you call him, Pop Chris. He was the one. I called him one day because I was in pastoral counseling. I went to Life Point Church up here for a
Okay.
while. I had Zeke going to the youth night on Wednesdays,
Nice.
and then we
Nice.
go to church on Sundays. But because of some of the things that were being thrown around about me that were 100% untrue, at most services afterwards, they say, "Hey, if anybody wants some extra prayer, come up and talk." Well, I was going to pastoral counseling, so I went up and saw my guy, and all of a sudden, I had like leadership from the city coming up to me and asking to if they could pray with me, and I was like, "Yeah, sure, why not?" And I'll take a free prayer. It's good, all right. And they it started off with being good, and then all of a sudden they were like, and we just want to pray for Phil and his infidelities and his addictions, and I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa,
What?
whoa, 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 whoa. Yeah. um so that hurt, right? Because there again, if I never once tried to fix my name, right? Because there's no point in that. Like, if you know me, and I didn't do any of these things. And if you don't know me and you believe what you believe, then I don't want you in my life. Like,
Yeah.
I'm fine with that. You're just baggage at this point. So I couldn't go back anymore. And I've
Yeah.
talked to Pastor Mike up there, and we still break bread and speak. But like, it was just bad because I had people coming up to me thinking I was addicted to things and thinking I was very promiscuous and all these things. And I was literally shut down and was raising Zeke. And that was all I had. That was all I was doing 24 hours a day almost.
Man, I
So
hate
yeah,
to hear that. There's so many stories of church hurt and guys trying to do the right thing and ask for prayers and ask for help from a church, and then you hear stories like that. And we're both in Tennessee, man, and man, it just happens so much, dude. It's
yeah,
got to change. I personally was at a really good church for a while, and when I went through my divorce, I had so much shame because everybody was looking at me like, "Oh, what'd you do?" And I'm like, "I didn't want it. Yeah, I didn't want the divorce. I tried to save it, but it didn't matter because I'm the guy and I'm the bad guy." So I ended up, and I'm going to say this too. I just thought of this too, and you'll relate to this, Phil. Like, guys listening, I mean, it takes a lot of courage to walk in a church when you've lost your family by yourself and you're sitting in there, especially to go up in front of the congregation
yep.
and ask for help, and you were just crapped on, and that's wrong, dude. That's just
Yep. And
that's
it
wrong.
is it and again, like, I can't sit there and dwell on it. I don't
I
blame
know,
anybody
I
for
know,
that, and it sucks. But I don't need to be in a church to read
no,
my Bible. I don't need to be in a church to believe. I don't need to do any of that kind of stuff, right?
yeah,
Um and I was blessed with good people in my that just popped into my life, right? Jeremy Newsom and his nephew Zachary Newsom, they stepped into my life around January 23, and Jeremy is a super successful. He helps people get rich. He knows how to shake trees and make money fall out of them. He's an amazing human, and he does a lot of endurance stuff, and I
mm,
do a lot of I do a lot of endurance stuff. And he came up with this challenge. It was 12 miles every 12 hours for 12 days straight, and we started that
wow,
on January 1st, 2023. And I did that with a whole community of folks, and just to be able in that community was awesome. I mean, and that's where I learned really that endurance sports it helped me process, right?
mhm,
And that's where I I could go out in the woods now and I'll go out on a 20, 30-mile trail run and everything's fine afterwards, right? I just work through all the things,
Mm-hmm.
and everything's fine. And I do the same thing now at home. I run probably 5, 6 miles a day, on training days. And if I'm in training for something, then I've got my training block. But movement is what saved me. But Jeremy started that, and then he kind of just drugged me along with him. He runs this container called the Divine Kings group, Divine Kings, and I got to be part of that. And it was with a whole bunch of good guys that all were. And one of the things for the group, to be in the container, is no alcohol, no drugs, nothing bad in your life. You're just completely clean, sober, and clear mind, clear everything. And I stopped drinking back in 21. So,
Nice.
I'm now, I might have one glass of something just so you can trust me. But other than that, I have not been drunk since 2021, and I feel great about it.
That's awesome.
Um, I don't do drugs, so that's a plus. It's kind of hard to do drugs and fly helicopters when I was flying, and
Yeah.
doesn't work out well. And
No.
having a top secret clearance, I could get tested at any time, and I still have one now, so I could get called in at any time and go. And I'm not willing to lose my career over
Right.
something, over like 30, 40 minutes of pure bliss, right?
Yeah.
It's not worth
Yeah.
it. Um, but we continued on. Jeremy is just kind of, he put me under his wing and he helped me with that. And life was going. Zeke ended up going off on his own, and I got the job on the compound. And during this whole time, my brother Dana, on one trip, he sent me to he sent me, everything was going bad. He sent me to Puerto Rico. He said, "Hey, I'm sending you a ticket to Puerto Rico. You got an Airbnb. I'm paying for it all. I just need you to be at the airport, get on the plane, and then go sit on the beach or something for a week. I don't care." I went down there, and um, Monica, who is my current wife now, I dived in head first. We started talking. At first, it was nothing at all. I just wanted to help her because she moved down there. She was taking a leave of absence from work, and she had no idea. She wanted to paint walls. She wanted to hang shelves, and she didn't know how to do any of that. So luckily, it lined up the same time she was going down there. I happened to be down there for a couple days, and I just went in there and I poured into her. I freaking hung up shelves. I painted a wall for her. Did all these things, and left. Nothing happened, and we just stayed in contact, and we just started a long-term relationship. But one of those trips, when I went down there, I came back and Zeke was still with me. He was still in school. And then I went to my VA appointment on that Monday. And about 10:30 in the morning, I got a bang, bang, bang at the door. And I had probably about 12 uniforms standing outside my door. And I was arrested. I was arrested for stalking. It's all expunged now. I didn't stalk anybody. There was no real truth behind any of it, but it happened. And this is also when I found out that my past was being weaponized against me, because when I talked to the officer that was arresting me when I was on my way to jail, he was like, "Hey," I was like, "Hey, what? Why were y'all so aggressive?" Um, because I was trying to prove a point to Zeke when they came in the house, because he was trying to, let's run out the back, and I was like, no, no, that's the bad idea.
Bad idea.
Bad idea. I
Yeah.
said, what? I said, we're gonna handle this. I'm gonna handle this like a gentleman, like we should. I didn't know what was going on. So I opened the door and I got roughed up a little bit, and I was told that I was told that they were told that I had a drinking problem. I had PTSD. I was angry, and I had guns in the house. So I couldn't be mad at them, right? I've been in situations where you're going in somewhere and you think it's a bad situation. You're not going in there and shaking hands and saying, "Hey, how's it going?" You're going in there because your life may be in danger. So was it right? No, not at all. But the actual dudes that did it, like, they were doing what they thought was right at the time. So it happened. It happened. That all went away. Came back. I didn't know what was going on at that time. My life was flipped upside down, but I couldn't quit because I still had Zeke. I still had dogs to take care of. I was still trying to be a good person for my kids at that time, because we were still communicating via iPads regularly. And so I just had to show up, and that's what I just kept on doing. And life just started going more downhill at that point. And the courts were not friendly. If anybody is ever in a situation like this, it is imperative that you have a good lawyer, right? A good lawyer that will fight for you. And I unfortunately did not have that, and I got walked over. And it was bad. I got nothing, and that's okay, because I can build back better. And I'm on that path right now to build back better. And so life just kept on happening at that point. Me and Monica continued our relationship. Zeke went off on his own. He was down in Nashville again, and I loved him. I love him, and I still love him to death. He's in the room right next door. But at that time, he was in Nashville, staying in an extended stay, selling whatever he sold to be able to pay the rent or the daily payment every single day there. And that was his home. And me and Monica went down there and visited him probably about 2 months ago. And I was like, Zeke, this is not okay. Cause he still called me every single week, multiple times a week. And I told him, I said, hey, you're not in my house no more. So I don't really, if whatever you're doing, man, I did my job. I got you a diploma, and now you don't want to be here. So Godspeed, bro. I love you. But he would always call, and I told him, I said, I'm gonna tell you you're messing up. I'm gonna tell you the truth. And he would always call, and I would always say, like, bro, that is not becoming of a man. Like, you're not doing good stuff right now. And he'd be like, yeah, I know, whatever, pops, blah, blah, blah. And finally we went down there and saw him, and he was not well. He had his boss from his job he had a job. His boss was an old Army vet. And once again, I tried to get him in the Army when I was with him. And he was like, nah, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Well, he called me one day. He was like, I'm on my way to the recruiter station. And I was like, to like enlist? What are you doing? He goes, yeah, I talked to my boss and he said it'd be a good idea. And I said, Zeke, you sorry son of a. And he was like, what? I said, I've been telling you this, all these things I've told you over and over and over again. And he was like, I know, pops. Anyways, he joined. I went and saw him get sworn in. And that's when I talked to him and was like, hey, what you're doing right now, you need to figure this out, right? Because
Hmm.
what you're doing is not going to get you in the door of the Army. You're going to mess up before you get a chance. I said, so if you can clean yourself up and stop doing all this stuff, you got a plan. You can come stay with me. And that was about a month ago.
Nice.
You can come stay with me. And he was like, but I ain't got no job. I said, you don't have to work. You don't have to do anything other than not get in trouble. You can sit downstairs and I got a game room. He can sit there and play the game all day long. I don't care. And so we went and picked him up. He had his little bag that he'd been carrying for the last 3 years full of clothes, and that was it. And he's been here since. And the change in him is is outstanding, like ridiculous. And it's true. When you hit rock bottom, you bounce back, and he's doing really well right now. I'm so proud of him. He saved me, and now I'm saving him, and we're like Robin Big. It's just it's comical. He's a 6 foot black kid, and I'm just this 5'11" white dude. We love each other. We have this bond, and we'll do anything for each other. So
That's awesome.
he is my one success story out of all this, because he was on a path for destruction, and now he's on his way to the Army. January 11th, he ships out, and
Wow.
he's
That's coming
yeah,
up.
he's gonna be an armor guy. He's going into a 19 uniform, which is armor. So they'll pick what his MOS is going to be after AIT or after basic. So I'm looking forward to hearing from him and seeing the successes coming from that guy. But
That's
during the
awesome.
Divine Keeps program, one of the things Jeremy told me to do was, he was like, hey, start start being vocal. Start talking. Start making these reels on Facebook or on Instagram. Start just getting your word out there. He said, so pick a book, read the book, and then just start doing little clips on it, and how it relates to what's going on in your life. And I was like, okay, sounds cool. I don't read, for one, so that was tough. But I read some books, but there was no book that talked about what I was going through. There was plenty of books that talked about parental alienation, and there was plenty of books talking about PTSD and and how it gets used in against you sometimes. But there was none of those together. So I was like, I think I'm gonna write a book. And Jeremy was like, that sounds great. Write a book. And so I wrote a book. And it ended up, I didn't know what to do. I was going to publish it myself on KDP, Kindle Direct Publishing, through Amazon. And it was trash. I thought I had a great book. And then I shared it with Jeremy, and Jeremy was like, hey, he's written a couple books and he's got a publisher. And he was like, hey, call Ellie and, give her your manuscript and see what goes on. So I called Ellie. She is heaven sent. She worked a deal with me to be able to get the book done. I gave her my manuscript. She had an awesome team, went through the whole editing and all that process. And it's a book about this silent battle that guys and through this process, I found out women are in the same boat. Predominantly more happens to guys from what I've heard, but about the silent battle that we fight that we can't talk about because it's the stigma against it. Like men get used in the court system. We're the bad guys. We're not the ones that raise children. But if you look at the statistics, right, kids need dads, right?
Yep.
Moms do their job in the young age. They give them their tenderness. They teach them all the things. But then when they get older, right, the world sucks. Like there's
Mhm.
bad people out there. There's bad stuff that goes on. And that's a dad's place to be able to help and shelter and be able to lead and show them what right is when real bad things start happening. And my kids right now are missing that. And
Yeah.
that sucks because that's a disservice to them. And I know so deeply about this because when I first started going through this, everybody was like, hey, your kids will come around. And I was like, no, they won't, because I didn't come around. I didn't want
Mhm.
anything to do with my dad still. And through the healing process, in the Divine Kings, we were talking about the relationship with money and how money is an energetic relationship. And money was not good coming to me. And so my wife, Monica, she was like, hey, maybe all this is tied together. Maybe you've got the relationship with the kids, relationship with money. Maybe, just maybe, if you reach out to your dad and fix that relationship, maybe everything will start falling into place. So I was super resilient or resistant to it at first, and I didn't want to do it. And then one day I was just like, you know what, I'm doing it. I'm calling my dad, and she was like, when? And I picked up the phone right then and hit send and called my dad. And then I'm very I'm a people person, so it wasn't a big deal for me. She was like, "What are you gonna say?" And I was like, "I don't know. Here we go." And so I just talked to him and was like, "Hey, what's going on? I just want to know your story. What happened?" And he told me. He told me a story. He told me, and it's so scary that literally the same thing that happened to him is happening to me right now. He
That's
was,
wild. That's
yeah.
wild, man.
And I read something the other day, and it says you have to break the cycle. If you didn't have a dad, your kids are probably not going to have a dad. And
Mhm.
I was trying to break that cycle, but I was beating myself into a hole trying to do that. Right.
Yeah.
And I can still be a dad, and me and my ex we can cope. There's a thing called co-parenting or even parallel parenting. I've heard that word too, right? All these
Mhm.
buzzwords, but the kids deserve a father in their life. Whether
Mhm.
it be in if you and your ex don't get along, so be it. You can still be adults and
Mhm.
still work through that and have even if it's a weekend a month or something, the kids still need a father in their life of
Yeah.
any sort at all. And so I wrote the book, and it's been super successful. It really just talks about it's a little bit about me, the whole story, my little memoir. I've got part two actually in the works right now. This one is talking about just surviving the lies essentially and fixing yourself and working on yourself. And then part two is going to be how to prepare yourself for the day that they come back, right? Because again, I have a unique situation with this because I have a dad that went through the same thing as I did, and I've seen it from the kid's side now as an adult. And you can't be mad at your kids right now. Like I have no hard feelings for my kids, no matter what happens. Right? If they ignore me, they say whatever. I don't care because I know that they're not getting the whole truth, and it's not my job to give them the truth right now because they're delicate little creatures, right? And I'm not trying to go wreck their world and say people are lying to you. Like they don't need to they'll come to that realization one day.
Hmm.
And that's when the second book's going to come in, because you have to work, you have to start working now. You have to start, working on yourself now. Find a therapist that you will. Therapy's huge. I don't know if guys, if you're not, if you're against therapy, you probably really need therapy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go, and you don't have to. The first one you find, it may not be the one you stick with. Go find someone you're comfortable with, someone that understands what's going on, and just share and talk. And somebody is a non-biased party. They'll be able to fill you up with so much energy and so much wisdom and so many tools to put in your kit bag, that when it comes time for your kids to come around, you'll be ready for them, right? And you
Hmm.
won't, because that's I don't want to be Lieutenant Dan, 20 years from now, and my kids show up and I'm just not a good person, right?
Yeah. You
I,
still want to be the best version for them. So you got to do the work.
yeah, and no matter when that happens,
Hmm.
I believe it will happen one day. I pray that it doesn't take as long as I took, right? But if it does, it does. I'll be ready for whenever they decide they want to ask questions.
Phil, how did you develop such this? You have such a positive mindset. Like, how did you develop this? Have you always been this way?
I Yes, and it's pretty. People think it's disgusting almost sometimes, because I wake up every day and it's a new shot at life. I have a new opportunity to do good. I have a new opportunity to erase the past. Um, and it's funny. We were the way my brain works is we I just watched Harry Potter for the first time last week. Right, we powered through the whole thing, and we were watching one episode. I fell asleep, and then we went back to watch it. She said, "Do you remember any of this?" And I was like, no." But the way my brain works is, I can watch something, and then if it's not important, like if it's not something that I need to commit to memory, it doesn't stay. But when I rewatch it, I remember the whole thing, but I don't sit and dwell. And that is how I've dealt with life. I didn't know until
Okay.
just recently. Like, I don't sit and dwell and hold on to things. I don't, because there's no purpose. If I was to sit and hold on to some of these things that happened, I did it for a little bit when it first started, and I was just down. I was depressed, and I was like, this is
Hmm.
not me. This is not who I am. I bring joy, I bring passion, I bring energy. That's what I want to do, because it lifts people up. And if I can bring just a little bit, just bring a smile to one person's face that's having a bad day, I feel like I've succeeded for the day. I feel like I've made a difference. And every day I wake up and I know it's a new chance. I know I got an opportunity. I'm walking, I'm alive. I've been blown up. I ruptured my quad doing a quad tendon in August, doing an ultra marathon. Um, and life sometimes sucks,
Hmm.
but it's just a little drop in the bucket of your whole life, right?
Yeah.
Don't trip over pennies trying to make dollars, right? It's just, you just got to lean forward and just keep moving. And that's where I think I've succeeded in this. Is I've never once got into that toilet bowl and just spun around and spun around. Like, I've always just been able to pick myself up and keep moving. And I do it with an infectious smile on my face. And I just love life. I love being alive. I love being able to help people. And I got into another little funk when I ruptured my quad tendon in August doing an ultra, and I was bedridden pretty much for about 6 weeks. I couldn't bend my leg. It was in this super brace. I couldn't do anything. And once again, Jeremy Newsom showed up again. He runs a trading program container where he teaches people how to trade. And he brought me on, let me in, and I took the first course with it. And then he let me go. He does 3 a year, and he let me do the next two of them as his like little helper, his little admin guy, and I would help everybody. So when I was in the bed, I was on Zoom calls, 6 or 7 of them all day long, helping people trade, and
Wow.
it gave me purpose. It gave me
Yeah.
something to do. Right? It wasn't if I didn't have that, I would have just sat and spun and just been miserable.
Hmm.
He gave Once again, I found a purpose in life, and I leaned into it, and it made me better. And I was speaking to people, I was helping people, and it felt good. So
How
being
does Oh, go
Go
ahead,
ahead.
sorry.
No,
I was
no,
gonna
you go.
say, with all of this, like, how does this kinda correlate to your current job at the compound? Are you able to kinda I mean, I'm sure you gotta tread lightly, but because you're so self-aware, you're positive, you're living life kind of maybe on a different plane than some of us that have struggled with mental health. Are you able to kind of transfer that knowledge to some of the I'm assuming you're working with newer guys at times that might be coming to the unit. So are you able to kind of transfer that knowledge over to
Absolutely.
those pilots? Oh, that's awesome, man.
Absolutely.
That's badass.
Yeah. And every day I come in with a smile on my face and crack a joke. And I just, I get to train the new guys. And then I've got all my old buddies who are still in. And believe it or not, I'm not the only one this has happened to, or the only one going through it. And they come to me and I just, in short, I tell them, guys, it's okay. Like, yes,
Hmm.
this is, I'm not going to sugarcoat this and say that this is glorious and it's okay and it's nice and everything's fine. It sucks. It hurts, but there's nothing you can do about it except for
Hmm.
fight and fighting, right? Like some guys fight and they spend their whole life fighting in the courts and they do all that stuff, and at the end they end up losing. And that's, mentally, physically draining, emotionally draining, because I fought for a little bit and realized I wasn't winning at all. And ended up just being like, hey, I don't I don't need any of this stuff. What we're doing, I realized I was not going to win any fight that I was doing because of the situation I was in. Obviously, guys are in different boats, but because of you know, the court system and how it was being used, I had nothing to stand on. So I knew at that point, like I just need to switch gears and start working on me and start telling my story so that other guys that are in the same situation know that they're not alone. One, two, that this is not okay, and three, it's going to be all right, right? One way or another, it's going to be all right. You're still waking up, you're still breathing, you're still able to go and do things for everybody else. Like, yes, I want to be able to pour into my kids right now. That's
Hmm.
the only thing I would really want to do, but I can't. And I've come to not peace with it, but I've come to grasp with reality, and I can't live in an altered reality because that's not true, right? That's
Hmm.
that's delusional. So I'm here to help guys, just to know that this battle sucks, and but there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Where how that looks, it's different for everybody. I can't say one fits all, but I can tell you if you have a good attitude and you have a good mindset and you keep moving forward, that eventually things will work out in your favor. If you start to fight and you start to go and just dwell and badmouth people and MF people and do all that stuff, you end up looking bad and you end up being the person that they're saying you are.
Hmm.
So it's just not worth it because there's
I think
so
a
many
lot of it.
people that help.
Yeah, yeah, I think a lot of it too is just that's how you stay humble and you have to be the bigger person, especially in a situation like that, because it will be used against you. So
Absolutely.
you have to be way more cautious of your,
And it sucks.
respond, don't react, and hold your tongue when needed. And yeah, it does suck, but I think it molds men into almost like a 1% club, man, because you are you're able to be that stronger individual even though you're having to do the harder things, but you're showing your kids you may not have them right now, but they're going to see like, hey, dad down the road, and I'm talking to myself, dad did the right thing. Dad didn't go off the rails. Dad didn't blow up, or he didn't play out what we thought
What
he
they were told.
was.
The
Yeah.
narrative that they've been told
Yeah.
did not never came to fruition.
Because we want to someone you will always be the villain in somebody's story. So
Yeah,
all you can do is be the bigger person, and you're a man of faith, so am I, and we know that God loves us. And I think trying to live daily to represent what we're called to be makes a big difference, and it changes that stigma of he's violent, he's angry, he's got PTSD. Well, but look at Phil. He's positive. He's helping people. He's inspiring people. He's not bitter. He's not angry. And
no,
you're doing the right thing, dude. You're inspirational. I mean, just talking to you, your energy is amazing.
appreciate
And
that.
no, I love it, man. Because I mean, I a similar experience, not quite the same, but divorce is brutal, man. It is
Yeah,
brutal, and it's cool to hear how positive you are, especially with the type of job that you had and the stuff you've seen. And we didn't even get into all that, but I mean, dude, I mean, 19 combat deployments. I mean, that's unreal, man. That's unreal. So I admire your positivity and your outlook on life, man. It's really
For sure.
inspiring.
Thank you. Thank you.
Where can people learn more about you and how can they find your book?
My book is on Amazon. I have actually, it's a number one bestseller right
You want
now.
to hold it? You want to hold it back up?
Yeah, yeah. Here we
There you
go.
go.
You can get it on Amazon. If you Google Erase Not Forgotten, Barnes and Noble, you can get it through Barnes and Nobles. There's a whole bunch of different places, but it's on Amazon. And or you can find me on Instagram at Calcese Fam, and I post a lot of reels. I'm right now. I'm just reading through the book, little clippets, little nuggets, a couple times a week on there. And you can find me there. I'm on Facebook at Phil Cease, Philcese on Facebook. And then my email, if you want to email me, is philcese23@gmail.com. Anyway, I'm always here. I just want to help guys. And I've had women reach out. I'm helping women too, just to know that one, you're not alone. Two, this isn't okay. And three, everything will work out one way or another in the end. And that's my mission, is just to speak on this and just raise awareness, and
Hmm.
hopefully, and do like you said, just keep doing the right thing. So one day my kids will fall, they'll stumble across, they'll Google Calcese and this podcast will show up, right? Or
Yeah.
the book will show up somehow in their world. And they'll be able to see that I never quit. Right. It's part of the motto, right? I suckers don't
Hmm.
quit. There's no quitting me. I will just keep showing up, keep getting punched in the face, and keep smiling, because once again, that I can only control me. I can't
Hmm.
control anybody else. I can't, because in the beginning I was trying to push my narrative, and
Hmm.
it was it wasn't going well. So just be who you are. Find a tribe of people, right? Jeremy Newsom. I've got a bunch of good dudes, Scott Bradley, Trevor Hartz. They've all been guys in my life. Down there in Brentwood, you've got the Datter Days Club that works out at um, CrossFit Trivium every Saturday morning. There's about 30 guys there that work out now. And they're all awesome guys that are men of faith, and they all just lean into each other. So I've been blessed with a good group of guys and gals that I've been able to lean on when I needed it. And you just got to have a tribe, and you can't do
Hmm.
this alone. I'll tell you that right now. You
Yeah.
can't do it alone.
No. And it takes more courage to ask for help and to work on yourself than it does to just stay silent and to suffer and try to figure everything out on your own because we're
That's
not
it.
designed to operate by ourselves.
No, no. And that's, to me, that's the lazy way out, right?
Yeah.
I can sit and just be depressed and drink and do
Hmm.
whatever and go from woman to woman and just throw my life away. Or I can put in some work now, put in the hard work now, and fix myself, right?
Hmm.
Or get better. And I didn't think I was messed up, but fix myself and get better. And that way, if I can't pour into my kids right now, I can keep on pouring into everybody else that's around me, right? And then
Yeah.
when my kids do come around, I'll be whole, I'll be complete, I'll be ready to go, and just I'm waiting for that day, and I'll wait for that day forever.
Well, and one thing you can do too is you may not have your kids with you right now, but you're helping other fathers out there that might have their kids full time or have their kids, joint custody. They can learn from you and then they themselves can become better fathers for their kids because you hit the mark earlier when you said, boys need their dads. I mean, they need them. And what you're doing, the message you're spreading is going to help every dad out there, regardless of their home life or when they see their kids. And that's what we need. That's what we need, man. This day and age, we need more strong men. And when I say strong, I don't mean just the jacked dude
Yeah,
in the gym, which that's a big part of it, but you've got to do the right thing. And you said this earlier too, help others. It's all about service, man. Like it's about helping other people and not putting yourself first because pride will destroy you.
yeah. And I've learned through this that masculine energy, right? It doesn't
Hmm.
have to be, knife hands and in somebody's face.
Yeah.
Masculine energy can just be, you receive it and you
Yeah.
absorb it, and you're able to, because you do have that masculine energy. You're strong enough to just accept whatever that is and kind of just flow with it, right?
Hmm.
If you're doing jujitsu or you're fighting somebody, right? If you go full bore in somebody and you catch a fist right in the face, except if you bob and weave with them and you start working and doing the magic, you're going to be more successful, right?
Mhm.
So just
Mhm.
breathe through it and just accept what's going on and lean into people and get the help you need, and you'll be a better person. And
Mhm.
then one day your kids will, I promise you, because I did it. It took me 30 some years, but your kids will come back around. They will have questions. Why were you around? All these things. And just be prepared to sit down with them. And I'm learning like through my dad, don't press anything. Don't try to force anything. Just listen. Just sit
Mhm.
down and listen and understand, receive their pain. They're going to say some foul things, I'm sure. I did. I mean, I was pretty some I said some things to my dad, and he just took it. He was just like, "Yeah, you're right. I hear you, and you have all the right in the world to be upset about that." And
Mhm.
but and he never once. He told me from the beginning. I said, I'm not gonna muck your mama. I won't do it. If you ask me a question, I will tell you the truth, but I'm not gonna
Mhm.
sit here and throw her through the dirt. Same thing, guys. If you're in that series right there, just slow down, breathe,
Mhm.
right? Because if you go in there hard charging, thinking things are going to be the same that they were from whenever that time frame separation was, it's not. Like me and my dad, we have a relationship right now, and I love. But oh yeah, I skipped over that when I went and saw him on Easter, um,
Nice. Nice.
and this Easter, and now it was great, but it's still weird, right?
Mhm.
He was a stranger for 30 years. I didn't have anything to do with him. So, but now we I talk to him probably once a week, once every other week. We chat, and he's been a huge part of my life in this healing process because now I know it's possible.
Yeah.
Now I understand the whole picture of what's going on from the kid's side, from being alienated to the dad's side, from talking to him about how it felt and
Mhm.
all the things he went through, and like I got the holistic picture of it now.
That's incredible, man. I'm glad to hear that. And I think that, forgiveness is a big part of this whole journey too. You're able to kind of mend that relationship and you're still working on it, but that's understandable. But that's a
Yeah,
big, it just shows what type of man you are to reconnect with your dad after what you experienced in childhood. As we're closing, I wanna read something. You mentioned earlier with the congregation and stuff was kind of brought up when you asked for prayers, and then it kind of turned to a whole thing. And I want everyone that's watching right now to hear what I'm going to say. It doesn't matter what your past is. It doesn't matter what you've done. Jesus will always love you, regardless of the things you've done in your life. And so I want to read a scripture. It's from Hebrews chapter 12, verse 2. And really, this is fixing your eyes on Jesus. For the joy set before him, he endured the cross, scorning its shame, and sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. Jesus went to the cross for my sins, your sins, everyone's sins. He died for you. He shed his blood and died for your sins so you could be forgiven. All you got to do is receive him and ask him to be in your life, to surrender to him, and he will always be there. I'm a big believer without Christ in your life, it's going to be hard to ever find peace because he is peace. Life is
absolutely.
hard. And as a Christian, you're going to suffer. You're going to have trials you're going to have to endure. You're going to have the enemy on your back because you're doing the right thing. So just because life is hard, don't feel like you're all alone. Christ is always there. I'm living proof of that. I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you tonight if it wasn't for
Yes, sir.
Christ. I had to hit rock bottom to find him, to come back to him. But man, I'm telling you, you need to seek him out because he is the only way home to the Father.
That's right. That's right. A lot of truth there.
Well, Phil, I'm gonna close this out with a prayer.
All right.
And you ready?
Yes, sir.
Heavenly Father, thank you for today. Thank you for Brother Phil, and thank you for this episode tonight. Lord, I pray that you will bless Phil and his mission. I pray you bless his book, and I pray that it will reach all of those people out there, Lord, that need to hear his message, that are just struggling, that are dealing with situations where they don't see their kids, or dealing with situations with relationships that have gone away, just dealing with the grief of the grief of people that are still alive, but the family's gone, Lord. It's hard. And it's not possible by ourselves. We need you in our lives, Lord. And I pray that with the listeners of this podcast tonight, that you will give them peace, Lord, that you will cover them in your blood, that you will give them power through you, Jesus, that you will just give them the power to continue to push forward. And you also give them purpose. purpose to find joy in life through you, and purpose to help others, to be humble, to be kind, to be loving, and to be gentle no matter what life throws at them. Thank you so much for this platform, and thank you for Brother Phil. It's in your mighty name that I pray. Amen.
Amen.
If you got something out of this episode tonight, please like and subscribe to the channel and share this with someone, especially someone that's gone through a divorce, someone that's dealing with a co-parenting situation or not seeing their kids, because men, you need to hear this message and we want to help others out there. Phil, thank you so much for coming on tonight, man. It was a pleasure speaking with you. And I'm so glad I got to hear your story and just learn more about you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. This was everything to me. I really do. I hope this
Yeah, man.
message reaches the guys that need it and the gals that need it.
I do too, brother, man. And also, I know you hear this a lot, but coming from me, thank you for your service, man. I really appreciate you.
My pleasure, sir. My pleasure.